You're watching a special edition of The Breakdown, seen exclusively at atv.ca and A Sports Extra. I'm Norman James. Joining me in studio today, Level 4 umpire Eldon Dunseith. And I don't know, umpires are all over the news lately, internationally and of course locally. The melee in St. Thomas, you were in the middle of it. You were not on the field making calls, but you were playing peacemaker. Take us back to that afternoon in St. Thomas.
Well, the junior eliminations were here, and I actually was on the plate for the semifinal prior to that, and I was working third base in the championship game after it. So I was in the stands, just watching the game like everybody else. And when it ended, I mean, we didn't have any better view in the stands of what was happening on the field at first base. You know, than any, like the guys on the field were a lot closer to it. You know, we couldn't see the ball. We couldn't, you know, as far as I knew, when the umpire called him out, I thought the game was over. Just
wrong place, wrong time, or perhaps right time, depending on your perspective. The tag is applied, the out call is made. Yep. There's a commotion at you know, the center of the diamond for a championship celebration, but there's a ball in right field. It's just a wacky scenario.
It's not something I've ever seen, not quite like that anyway. You know, like I said, I saw the out call. He made the call. Etobicoke started to celebrate, you know, the semifinal win, which for them would mean a spot in the national tournament in Windsor. And then when it was determined that the ball was still on the ground, you know, we just kind of sat back with the rest of the fans, watched the umpires get together and thought, oh boy, what's going to happen here? Final call to end a game, perhaps. It did not. Does that umpire not need to see the ball? There's a tag supposedly applied. Should he not say, let me see the ball, before he makes the out call, knowing that that is the monumental out of the game? On that play, and that's a good way that you put that, the monumental out for the game. It's the final out. You know, we love being out there. We get caught up on occasion in the emotion of the game. It's a big deal. It's the final out. It's a big game. And I probably would have punched it out as hard as he did on the out to, you know, make that final call. Unfortunately for him, the runner was running, you know, top speed down the line. It was not a pretty play by any stretch. The first baseman had to reach to tag him, and unfortunately for the first base umpire, he didn't see the ball come out of the glove. Nobody did, and Brent Lale had to, you know, go over and over re-examining the play for our viewers, our online viewers as well. And you know, Eldon, there's a contingent based primarily in Etobicoke in that area, upset with the way things went down. Some of them even saying that the base runner intentionally tried to knock the ball out of the first baseman's glove. I don't see that, but perhaps you did. No, not at all. He was running full speed to try and get to first base before the first baseman came over with the baseball. The first baseman did what he could do. He wasn't going to reach the bag in time, so he tried for the tag. There was no intent there at all. It was just a play where the runner running through the tag, the ball came loose. It ended up in short right field. I mean, and as you say, the video shows the right fielder chasing after the ball because it's, I'm sure in his mind, he didn't realize the out had been called. The ball was on the ground, so he was chasing after it. Again, it was just a nightmare scenario at the wrong time for just about everybody involved, except for St. Thomas because they got the break and then the ensuing 3-run home run. The congregation of the umpires after the play was called dead. Did they do the right thing, or could that first base umpire have gone back and said, you know what, the call has to stand even though the ball's in right field? No. Judgment call by an umpire can only be overturned if he thinks either, you know, he didn't have the best view of a call. And I mean, I'll just speak for myself. If I make a call and I don't think maybe I didn't have the best view, maybe, you know, my plate umpire looking down the line had a better view of a call, whether it be this one or another one, I can approach my partners for help. Nobody can force me to do that. In this case, the ball was on the ground quite visibly to more than just the right fielder. I mean, the other umpires obviously realized the ball was loose. After the right fielders going for it, base runners are going. Yeah. So when they got together, I mean, ultimately the four of them got together and they got the call right. Isn't it ironic that umpires are usually chastised and raked over the coals for making wrong calls, and in this case, sticking to their guns. And in this case, you are being condemned for making what turned out to be the right call. Yes, I mean, the runner obviously can't be out. The ball's on the ground. Now, I mean, They put the runners where they needed to be. Obviously, you know, the batter was safe at first base. The runner who was on second was put at third. You know, not allowed to score because the Etobicoke team had stormed the field thinking they'd won. They couldn't allow that run to score. Etobicoke still had a chance to get out of the game. They had a 1-run lead. They had 2 runners on with 2 out. Ground ball, strikeout, fly out, anything, and they still win the game. You know, it was just unfortunate after a 10-minute break that the pitcher had to come in and try and throw strikes with anything on it. After coming back down from the emotion of thinking he had just gone to nationals, and the batter came up and hit a home run.
He needed one out. He needed one out, and it was a nightmare scenario for that first baseman, for the pitcher, for the first base umpire who wanted to be clear on that call, and just all of this stuff unfolds. And what are you going to do? You know, umpires don't really win or lose at the end of the day. What you want to do is call as clean a game as possible. But really, can umpires ever win? Because it just seems like, you know, this is a job that doesn't get any credit whatsoever. You can go unnoticed for days and days and weeks, and then all of a sudden one call comes up that's controversial and everybody wants your head on a platter.
There's an old quote, actually, and if you ask anybody, they've probably heard it if they're an umpire. We're expected to be perfect on day one and get better from there. So, you know, we call, you know, in that game, the plate umpire probably had 250 to 300 pitches come his way. And if he misses more than 1 or 2 of them, he's going to hear it. You know, any play on the bases, we hear it. All of us are out there because we love the game. This was a high-level baseball tournament in the province. On Monday, you've got top umpires working those games. You know, several national championships between them. The guys who worked in totality on Monday,
who weren't all local,
who were not all local umpires. In stark contrast to the comments made by the Etobicoke coach. Not all the guys were local, and actually the young man at first base was from Hamilton.
We have to get out of here, but just following that madness that took place in St. Thomas, and something I'm sure you won't forget, can you give me an idea of just how fearful those umpires were, and perhaps some people involved in the game, whether convening or officiating, with everything that was unfolding? Was there a genuine fear there, or do you think that was overblown the same way you hear Etobicoke fans saying that there was a bias involved?
I think it was overblown, definitely. Obviously, they were not teenagers on the field, those 4 umpires. They're all men. And we're not walking off the field thinking anything was going to happen to them. Obviously, they were being chased by the Etobicoke team off the field. Most of it was just verbal. I mean, I didn't really notice that anybody made an attempt to hit anybody. Myself and some of the other umpires who were in the stands had come down to try and help out, to, you know, get them off the field. You know, we didn't lock them in the room. You know, the police were not called by the tournament conveners to protect the umpires.
It's good to know. Good to know.
You know, so we're not really sure actually who called them. But it was not on behalf of the umpires, and at no time were us or the umpires on the field in that game fearful for their safety.
You've dealt with verbal abuse before, and I'm sure you will in the future. The thing you probably won't get is a big pat on the back when you really deserve it. So let me do that for you right now. Awesome. You can be that poster child for all umpires locally. You guys do a fantastic job. We got to get out of here, but thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Adding some clarity to this crazy issue, but we'll see what happens from here.
No problem.
Eldon Dunseith, ladies and gentlemen, make sure to catch the breakdown. It's seen exclusively at atv.ca and A Sports Extra. Catch you next time.